Hi, Talia. I'm Zoe with Glitter Magazine. How are you?
Hello, hi.
Congrats on Netflix's Family Reunion. It's such a fun show.
Thank you.
Can you tell me where you're originally from and how you got your start in acting?
Well, I'm originally from Madison, Wisconsin, and I lived there for, I believe, about 6 or 7 years, although I've always traveled back for summers and holidays because my father, up until last year, right before quarantine, he had still lived in Wisconsin. And my parents got divorced when I was 6. My mom had some biological family out in Santa Barbara in uh, LA area. And she thought like that would be the best time to just make the move. She'd always wanted to, and she moved out. And I'd done a little bit of modeling and whatnot out of like Milwaukee, which was like never anything. It was just like Kohl's or Target. And because I had done that when we moved out here, my mom got me with a modeling agency as well, just to kind of like, I don't know, see what would happen from it. And I started out just doing like little modeling jobs. I think I like did Target and some like little print stuff. And then the agency ended up reaching out to us and was like, hey, we think it would be really great if she started doing commercials and theatrical stuff. And I kind of like accidentally fell into it. I always tell people that. They're like, how'd you get started? I'm like, I genuinely have no clue. I feel like I like woke up one day and just ended up acting. Like
Well, that's awesome. Can you tell us about your role as Jade on Netflix's Family Reunion?
yes, my role is Jade. Jade is a typical teenager, pretty angsty. She doesn't really want to be in Columbus. She doesn't really want to do anything her family wants to do. And I feel like it's actually pretty easy for me to play her just because
Yeah.
I definitely know what it's like to be quite different from your family. And even though you love them and you love being around them, you just don't have many similarities. And therefore nothing they do is enjoyable to you. And I think Jade has a lot of that because she really does love her family and enjoys them and their company, but they're just not into the same things she is. And it's fun getting to like play out those different scenarios and the different kind of like niches she gets in, and she falls into a bunch of weird habits and gets attached to a lot of boys, and it's a really cool character. I enjoy genuinely every script I get. I'm having fun.
That's really good. Can you tell us how you landed the role and what was the audition process like for you?
I landed okay, so I actually booked this right after I had like stopped acting for a little bit.
Mhm.
I'd taken like 2 months off when I went back to Wisconsin for the summer, and I had told my mom, I was like, I don't want to act, I don't want to do anything in the industry. And I had gotten back in town and was just like not looking forward to being back at all. And I'd gotten an audition for Family Reunion, and they were like, we really want you to go out for it. We think you'd be good for it. And I was like, no, I don't want to go out for it. I don't want to do it. I was so just like done with the industry. And then also, I just felt like that role wasn't, I just felt like I had no shot at it, which is, I feel like it's always the auditions where you're like, I can't do this, that you can actually do it.
Yeah.
And it was the shortest audition process from like audition to knowing you booked it I've ever had in my, at that time it had been 11 years in the industry. It was, I believe, from Friday to Friday. I knew I had sent in my tape on a Friday, and then producers on Monday, and then testing on that Friday again. And I knew I booked it on that Friday. And
That's crazy.
I remember just screaming and crying in the car, like,
Yeah.
most exciting, like overwhelming feeling ever.
Well, congratulations again.
Thank
That's
you.
like an absolute amazing accomplishment. I know you touched on the fact that you were a little similar to Jade. Are there any specific similarities that you think that you have in common with her?
I think we both have a love for fashion, and I think we both get a little too involved in the guys we start liking or we start getting ourselves involved with. I think Jade has trouble compromising herself for other people. And I've also kind of struggled with that throughout my life,
Mhm.
in realizing that I can do what I want to do for me instead of what other people want. Jade and her relationship with Shaka and Mazi is very similar to my relationship with my brother, where they love each other and they have fun together, but at the same time, you're siblings and you fight and you bicker, but you, in the end, obviously resolve it or find a way to just live with it.
What's it been like working with such a stellar cast, including Tia Mowry and Loretta Devine?
I honestly was really starstruck. I remember when I first met Tia because I grew up watching Twitches and Sister Sister, obviously, and I'd always pictured what she would be like in person. And I'd pictured, her and her character and her and her sister. And I just couldn't imagine what she would be like in person. And then when I met her, I think we were walking in the hallways and like all the kids kind of like, we like accidentally like met on like a rehearsal day or something like that. And she was like the sweetest, warmest person, automatically was like loving and welcoming and hugs and just sweet and making everybody feel like you'd known her forever. And so it kind of took away that like scary feeling I had where it was like, oh God, like I don't want to embarrass myself in front of her because I look up to her. And then when we met Loretta is so funny, like so funny. From what I'd seen, whenever I'd watch Loretta on the screen, like unfortunately she's always sick or like dying in the movies that she's in. So you don't get to see the like really funny, sarcastic side of her. And then when I met her, I like always picture her in Grey's Anatomy. And so I was like, at first I was like, does she sound the way she sounds in Grey's Anatomy? I didn't know. And then I met her and she was the sweetest thing. She's so funny. Like I feel like I'm hanging out with somebody my age when I'm around Loretta. We all have the best time, especially me, Tia, Anthony, and Loretta. We all have the best time.
We know there was some controversy over your complexion and your hair on social media when viewers first saw the series. As a biracial actress playing Tia's daughter, who is also in fact biracial, can you tell us more about that experience and how you navigated through it?
It was heartbreaking in the beginning because I had never expected to get that type of feedback, just as a person, let alone like when your show is coming out and you're supposed to be having the best time of your life and feeling proud of what you've accomplished. The first day it ever came out was probably the hardest day for me out of all of it, which really kind of sucks because I wish I had been able to enjoy it the way I know a lot of my friends have. And I kind of fell into like a little bit of a hole for a second where I just felt like I was never gonna like get past it. And, like this was always gonna be my image, was like the girl with the bad wig or the like white girl who was in the Black family, which was what a lot of the comments were saying. And I thankfully had a lot of people around me who supported me and helped me through it and just explained things to me and helped me understand where other people were coming from. And it took time and it was frustrating because there's not much you can do about it. The internet is going to say what they're going to say. And I just let it kind of fizzle out. Thankfully, I think it was definitely a learning experience. I saw what I could handle and what I couldn't. And then I also learned that I was strong enough to get past stuff like that, which being young in this industry is a big fear, is that you'll just fall into like a hole when you get like attacked on social media.
Absolutely. Do you currently feel supported as a Black biracial female when it comes to representation on inclusive crew for hair and for makeup?
It's hard because I definitely feel supported by the people I'm around currently, but there was definitely a point where I definitely didn't feel supported. I was never getting the proper hairstylist. My hair was damaged and completely destroyed multiple times. When I would specifically ask for people who knew how to do my hair or even recommend that I do it myself, there were many times where people would see my complexion and just pick a lighter like skin shade or pick a darker skin shade to put on me. And it's always super uncomfortable because as an actor, you feel like you have a responsibility to kind of do your job. But if you're uncomfortable, you obviously want to say something. And I think there's a lot of times that me and women like me shouldn't be put in that position. And unfortunately we are, but I've seen it change in the industry and I've seen it change around me, and especially on my show. Family Reunion does an amazing job at fixing their mistakes and not, letting it elongate itself. And I'm just hoping that all other projects I get on seem to follow the same course. But from the friends that I do have on other shows, it does seem like things are slowly leaning in the right direction and getting things straightened out in all
Good.
aspects.
Good. You've been really outspoken about mental health. What advice do you have for others that might be dealing with similar issues?
Time, like everything is time. Things seem so forever when they're really always temporary. And I didn't comprehend for so many years that there was more than like the dark side of everything. And that's what got me trapped.
Mhm.
It's because you people get suicidal because it feels like the only way out is completely out. I think my biggest advice is like, you need to see the good in order to want to continue to see the good. And as long as you can like find things to distract yourself and only using positive distractions, because for a long time I would distract myself with horrible negative things that really only made me worse in the end. And if you can distract yourself by, just self-care, being around good people, going outside, trying new things long enough to be able to feel that joy and that bliss, you'll be able to see the other side of it, because there's so much more than the horrible days where you wake up and you just feel like it's never going to get better, because it does. It's just always time. I remember I was incredibly suicidal only like 300 days ago, which is insanity to me, because when I was in that spot, I remember what it was like, and it feels like that is the end of everything. Like you're always
Yeah.
just going to feel that way. And it's so not true. Because even when I look back at where I was 60 days ago or like 90 days ago, my entire mindset has slowly been healing itself. And everyone has that capacity in their brain. They really do. And it takes time. And I know sometimes it feels like you don't want to wait, but wait, wait, and wait. And one time I guarantee you're going to look back and be like, I am so glad I stuck around to see everything play out the way it did.
Well, that is so beautiful. And it's so wonderful seeing you on such an inclusive series telling Black stories. Do you feel like there's still work needed to be done in the industry regarding representation and inclusion?
Definitely. I think there's a lot of projects that are trying hard to fill that hole by like barely having people of color or just people of difference in their projects. And I think a lot of people are kind of getting blindsided to the fact that there still is not enough representation, just because they're seeing like the tiny little corner of it, and they're like, oh, but this show has this Black actress, and
Mhm.
this show is showcasing transgender visibility and da 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 da. And it's like, yeah, but barely. We're getting like one or two shows. And especially when you're on the other side of it and you're seeing, the breakdowns and the auditions, and you're seeing the ethnicities they originally put out for these roles, when things are getting like showcased to the
Absolutely.
news as inclusive, when in reality they're just not. So I think the industry has a long way to go. Thankfully, we are moving in the right direction currently, but don't let the tiny steps stop us from like reaching the big goals.
What would be an ideal genre for you to land and why?
It would be like a sci-fi horror
Okay.
or like a teen coming of age horror drama. That's like my dream role, would be to do something like different than what I'm doing now, something darker
Awesome.
and more mysterious.
And is there anyone in the industry that you'd want to work with or
Jake
that you
Gyllenhaal.
see Jake Gyllenhaal?
Gyllenhaal's like ever since day one, he's one of my favorite actors. I would like, and Jake Gyllenhaal at any age, like any age through his career, I would have worked with him, and I would love to work with him now.
And what was it like working through a pandemic, and how was that like?
So strange, but at the same time, like normal to me now, because it's become, I guess, that I expect the industry to be like for maybe a couple more years. But it was definitely strange in the beginning, because you're terrified. You're now around so many people, and you've gone from being alone in your house. For a lot of us, it was just about routine and like getting comfortable with it again, and getting used to the differences because we didn't have a live audience and a bunch of different things had changed, masks and shields and gowns and stuff. And then I think on our like third or fourth episodes, it was like, okay, let's just get in this. Let's get in the groove and just do it and be able to all go home and be in our little bubbles again. But it was definitely hard and it was different. But I was thankful. I think we all were thankful to have jobs in the middle of the pandemic
Yep.
because so many people did not get that opportunity.
And how did you maintain your zen in the earlier days of isolation? And did you have time to do anything new or interesting?
I started writing a lot of music, so much music in the beginning of
So,
quarantine. And hiking, I was just outside all the time trying to do things and keep my mind alive and not stuck. And I spent a lot of time actually with my dogs. I took them out. I feel like our like bond grew through quarantine because they got to see me all the time and we just hung out and played, and I just wrote a lot of music and did a lot of self-work and healing and tried to get my hair healthy and skin healthy and just staying in touch with people.
What's one thing that you look forward to when things fully open back up?
I think Disneyland and like amusement parks. I didn't do enough of that when it was normal and safe. And I wish I had. And now that like everyone's terrified of being around a million people, I think the first thing I want to do is like be around a million people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a couple fun questions for you. We talked about your skincare, so can you tell me some of your makeup or your skincare favorites right now?
I love Glossier's Milk Wash. That's like one of my favorite products, and it makes my skin like so soft. And then I love any Glossier tints. I'm always putting that on my cheeks. This new product, Freck, which they now sell in Sephora, actually. I do that whenever I like want to just freshen up my face and like put a little concealer on. And for skincare, I really don't do like much. I just do that wash, and then I'll put like a benzoyl on my face and just do, like an all over thing anytime I have to wear a lot of makeup or after like a shoot.
Awesome. And your natural hair is absolutely gorgeous. What products do you use for your curls?
Well, this has no product in it. It's just like wash and go, but like literally just wash. And normally I use like Miss Jessie's like a twist cream or like a curly souffle. And I just like brush through it with my hands. Actually, that's what helps my curls be so much better is hand brushing it. And then I just like scrunch it up into it.
Nice. And Glitter Magazine has a self-love campaign that we started back in 2015. Can you tell us what self-love means to you?
Self-love means like always having a home wherever you go. I feel like when you love yourself enough, wherever you go feels safe and comfortable. And self-love also means enjoying the little things to me, enjoying anything you do with yourself. And when you're like getting the mail or you're going to like renew your license plate, like all that stuff starts to just be fun.
Yep, like every aspect.
Yeah, literally everything.
And then I know you don't really said you don't use skincare that much, but what are some of your self-care rituals?
Self-care rituals. Hiking. I love baths, playing with these puppers, and baking. Baking is a huge thing for me. I love to like cook. I have a bunch of health like restrictions because of Lyme disease. And so I really enjoy finding recipes and making them like perfect for me and making them where I can eat them. I think that's like the coolest thing, especially since my mom has always taught me growing up to like eat that way. So it's fun being able to do that with her now as a grown up and like figuring out how to make gluten-free vegan muffins and like making fake steak tacos and stuff like that. Like I love that stuff.
Are you vegan?
So I'm actually pescatarian, but I don't have any dairy and I don't have any gluten.
Good.
So I'm like the weird in between of vegan and vegetarian.
I like it. That's
Like
cool.
really weird.
And what is your ideal vacay spot and what like that's next on your travel list?
I really want to go to Cayman Islands again. I'd only been there on a cruise and I got to spend like 2 days there or something. And it just wasn't enough time at all. The water is so clear and so
Mhm.
blue. And all of like the local residents are so sweet and it's not overcrowded. And it's not over like it's not very touristy. And I love that. I don't like going places where I don't like going places too rural where you're a little freaked out, but I also don't like going like to Times Square. Like that just
Mhm.
doesn't seem fun to me.
Mhm. And who's on your playlist right now,
Who's on
music
my
wise?
playlist? Uh, we have a lot of Kyle, a lot of Janae Aiko, um, Lana Del Rey,
I
obviously,
like it.
and Mac Miller. I have a lot of Mac Miller I'm playing, getting in that summer vibe.
Mm.
And trying to think who else. I know I just downloaded a bunch of new stuff. I've been listening to Olivia Rodrigo actually too.
Awesome. Do you have any projects in the works that you can share?
I do a lot of music, so much music.
Awesome.
I'm planning on releasing a single each month actually, or each every 3 weeks, and just keep doing that. I have an album in the works as well, which I'm not sure when I'll release that, but just still building and perfecting it and just still auditioning, still doing stuff and writing, always in the studio. And then me and my brother actually started a production company. So I've been in talks with Netflix and a couple places about some scripts that I'm pitching and just in production with a couple projects so far. So
That is awesome. And the last question I have for you, what is like the best way that fans can socialize with you?
I would say Instagram and TikTok.
Okay.
Those I try to stay the most active on. Instagram, I'm always trying to respond to DMs and
Mhm.
comments and just stay in touch with everybody. And I'm constantly on TikTok, which is like a horrible habit of mine. So I'm always on there, always trying to reply to funny comments or just when people have questions that I feel like I could properly answer.
And what are your handles for both? Are they different?
My handle on TikTok is Talia Jackson, and my Instagram handle is Talia Jackson Official.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for answering all my questions, Talia. It was
Thank
an
you.
absolute pleasure to speak with you today, and I hope to see from you soon. Congratulations again on your show.
Thank you so much. Stay safe. Bye. Have a good one.